After learning that my husband, Shen Shi, was the son of the richest man in the Ho family, who had gone missing in a plane crash, I wisely drafted a divorce agreement. But he angrily tore it up. I don't remember anything from the past. I miss home, miss the smell of the sea, miss Big Yellow and Little White. Let's go back to the small fishing village and stop talking to these people. I looked up and saw Shen Zai's wife before his memory loss, staring at me with deep resentment, her face full of despair. Shen Zai's biological son cried, wanting to hug his father, but was stopped by the nanny. I sniffed, my fingers stiff as I pointed at the signature line. Sign it, Shen Shi. You can wrong me, but you still need to make it right for the wife and child who've been with you for 6 years. So I slapped him back into memory with one strong blow, and then turned around to make 10 million. Later, he got sick and came after me in the small fishing village. But my mermaid had already returned to the sea. Shen Zai's eyes turned red. Normally gentle, he almost shouted as he shoved aside Song Sangren, who was trying to get closer. Don't touch me, I've told you countless times. I don't remember anything from the past. You're Huo Linshan's wife. Your son is Huo Linshan's son. What does that have to do with me? Shen Shi, I beg you, can you just stay away from me? Is it only when you drive my wife away that you'll be satisfied? I have no memory of Huo Linshan, so why do you want me to take responsibility for him? Looking at Shen Zai's tortured expression, Song Sangren opened her mouth, her gaze becoming more and more hollow. But when she looked at me, her numb expression showed a flicker of life. She hated me, deeply hated me. In Song Sangren's eyes, I was the mistress who stole her husband, the dirty woman who destroyed her family. From a certain point of view, that was indeed true. I met Shen Shi when he was already married. But neither I nor he knew that. I found Shen Shi by the rocks near the small fishing village. He had a torn parachute on his back, half his face was covered in blood. Yet his beauty was still undeniable. I took him to the island police station to report, but he remembered nothing. He even said he might be a mermaid who swam up from the sea. Officer Lee thought he was a fool, probably abandoned by his family. After taking a blood sample, he told me to take him home and care for him. Although he's a fool, he's strong. Your family has no man, so he's perfect for work. Feed him, and you'll get a strong laborer. What a deal. Once we find his family, we'll contact you again. So, I took him in. Shen Shi was the name I gave him. He said he came from the sea as a mermaid, so I picked a name from a comic book about mermen for him. Shen Shi stayed with me. 6 years passed, and Shen Shi went from coming back empty-handed from every trip to sea, to becoming the undisputed king of fishing in the small village. From never having touched water to becoming a ruthless fish killer. He went from being the long-term worker in Wen Yu's household, to being Wen Yu's husband. I thought life would always be this simple and happy. Until Officer Lee came to us again. He looked at me, hesitant, as if holding back something. Wen Yu, after I tell you this, you have to stay strong. Shen Shi is not the fool people thought he was. DNA matches, he's Huo Linshan, the only son of the richest family in Beijing, who went missing in the plane crash. The crash caused him to lose his memory. He was already married and had a child before he lost his memory. Wen Yu, your mermaid might have to swim back to the sea. My heart sank suddenly with a dull thud. I froze, until Shen Shi roared, knocking Officer Lee's desk over. Lee, are you trying to steal my wife? Causing trouble on purpose? I was wondering why you're still not married. You want to take my corner. Just because you're a police officer doesn't mean I won't beat you. You spread rumors about me. Shen Shi was detained for obstructing justice for a week. The day I picked him up from the detention center, I forced him onto a flight to Beijing. I wanted to figure out whether he was someone else's Huo Linshan, or my Shen Shi. But in the end, it didn't turn out the way I wanted. Officer Lee was right. Shen Shi was the Ho family's missing son. He already had a wife, and even a son, who was 8 years old this year. From Song Sangren's perspective, I was the mistress who ruined their marriage. The one who destroyed her happy family. Shen Shi gripped my wrist, like an abandoned dog, pleading with his tail between his legs. Wen Yu, don't abandon me. I don't even know them. How can I take responsibility for them? Are you seeing someone else, and now trying to use this as an excuse to ditch me? It's okay. Bring the other guy over and we can all live together. You know I'm not a petty man. Song Sangren gasped, almost breaking down. The hatred in her eyes was like arrows, deeply stabbing at me, reminding me that my once happiness was stolen from her. I bit my tongue hard. The pain brought me back to reality. I forced myself to push Shen Zai's hand away. Stop it, Shen. Huo Linchen, the Ho family has already found the best psychologist for you. I believe your memory will return soon. Do you remember? Our neighbor Wang's husband ran away with someone when he was working outside. You often gave fish to Wang, and you know how hard her life with Xiao Chen was. Better than anyone. You said children without fathers are the most pitiful. And now you see Ho your own son. Do you want to become that man who abandons his wife and child? 8-year-old Ho bit his lip hard, fighting back tears, refusing to cry in front of me, the bad woman. He looked at Shen Shi with a stubborn yet aggrieved face. The two faces, one big and one small, had the same expression. Blood ties. This bond couldn't be broken. Song Sangren noticed the hesitation in Shen Zai's eyes. She pushed Ho who immediately stepped forward and hugged Shen Shi. Daddy. After all, Ho was just a child. He hated his father for abandoning him for another woman. But he still longed for him to come back to him and his mother. Ho took out a stack of photos of him and his father, crying as he burrowed into Shen Zai's arms. Shen Shi flipped through the photos. In the pictures, the stranger he used to be was holding this child in one arm and hugging Song Sangren with the other. Shen Zai's expression became more and more painful, and he couldn't help but hold Ho tighter. I took the chance to turn and leave. Standing on the busy streets of Beijing, watching the people rush past, my heart felt emptier than when I faced the entire sea alone. I had never been so conflicted before, half hoping Shen Shi would chase me, yet fearing he would. When you stop, my heart tightened and I stopped in my tracks. It was Song Sangren. Though her face was exhausted, she still put on a proud expression and looked at me with her head held high. When you don't think I don't understand your little tricks. You pretend to be magnanimous, trying to get Huo Linchen back to my side, just so he'll feel sorry for you and get more attached to you. When you really love being the mistress. Though Song Sangren's aggressive attitude was annoying. At this moment, I felt even more pity for her. She spent 6 years with her husband, only to find he'd already started a family with another woman. He even abandoned her and their child for that woman. If I were in her shoes, I might not be stronger than her. Miss Song, you've misunderstood. I will sever ties with Shen. Huo Linchen. I'm also a victim here. If I had known he was married, I never would have. But Song Sangren clearly wouldn't listen. In a fit of madness, she shoved me to the ground and pulled out a credit card, throwing it in my face. If you really plan to sever ties with Huo Linchen, then you better leave now. Otherwise, I'll make sure everyone on this island knows you're the mistress. Stealing someone else's husband. I picked myself up from the ground, grabbing the card. Song Sangren was right. If I truly intended to leave Shen Shi, I should disappear right now. Otherwise, no matter how I acted, it would still seem like I was trying to keep a connection. I leaned on my injured arm and stopped a taxi. Song Sangren chased after the car, crying and cursing. All you want is money, right? I'll give you as much money as you want. Just give me my Huo Linchen back. I had heard Officer Li talk about Song Sangren. She was a rich heiress, a talented woman, a businesswoman who held the Ho family together after her husband's disappearance. She shouldn't be acting like this. It was my fault she'd lost her husband. I had pushed her to this point. I clutched my heavy chest and told the driver, take me to the airport. Song Sangren was generous, her card holding 5 million. This money could guarantee my future. But the price was that I could never return to the small fishing village or see Shen Shi again. I clumsily got a passport and flew to Iceland alone. Before meeting Shen Shi, I didn't know much about this country. Dear, when the fishing ban season is over, we won't have to work. I'll take you to Iceland. You want to see the snow, right? Iceland has the most beautiful snow, and the most beautiful aurora. There, at the world's end, even the houses are colorful. I wondered how Shen Shi knew so much. He only smiled and said he must have been there before. Probably when he was a mermaid. I should have realized. A man like Shen Shi, handsome, cultured, and well-traveled, couldn't have been abandoned. Picking up a piece of gold on the road is no different from stealing. I didn't find Shen Shi, I stole him. So now, I returned him. I clumsily lived in Iceland alone. It wasn't as great as Shen Shi had made it sound. The days were short and the nights were long. And it was unbearably cold. Since I couldn't speak the language, I didn't make any friends. I wanted to go back to the small fishing village. But I couldn't break my promise to Song Sangren. I drifted aimlessly for a while until Song Sangren called me, asking me to return. Her voice trembled, full of exhaustion. When you won, come back. I beg you to come back. Huo Linchen said if he doesn't see you again, he'll kill himself. I thought he was just threatening me. Until I saw him lying in the bathtub this morning. With blood filling the whole tub, I rushed back home. Shen Shi was lying weakly in the hospital bed. And when he saw me, his pupils glowed brightly. I took the porridge Song Sangren handed me and fed it to him spoon by spoon. You're grown up. Why are you still trying to commit suicide and starve yourself? Shen Shi slumped his shoulders, his eyes red as he looked at me, full of grievance. Who told you to leave me? The moment you left, I tried to follow you, but I'm a fool with directions. I only know the way to the small fishing village. After wandering around, Song Ma told me I hadn't even left the Ho family villa. Baby, let's go home, okay? I can't get used to blood-soaked steak. And I can't sleep on a bed softer than your belly. I just want to go home, go back to our boat. As he said this, Shen Shi began to cry. I knew I had to reject him. But looking at him now, I couldn't bear to. Song Sangren raised her head, trying not to let the tears fall. She reached out and tucked Shen Zai's blanket in. When you're discharged, I'll have Wen Yu take you home, as long as you listen to the doctor and take your medicine. Whatever you want to do, I'll agree. Song Sangren compromised. She wanted her husband to stay with her. But she never imagined pushing him to the brink of death. Hearing Song Sangren's words, Shen Shi sighed deeply, happily drinking another bowl of porridge. The tear Song Sangren secretly wiped away, ultimately fell onto my heart. After leaving the hospital room, Song Sangren looked at me and gave a self-mocking smile. When you don't think you won. If Huo Linchen hadn't lost his memory, I'm sure he would have chosen me. She took off the pocket watch from her chest and showed me the photo inside. Look, this was taken in Iceland. I told him I'd only agree to marry him if I saw the aurora. That fool insisted we stay in Iceland for a whole year, saying if we didn't see the aurora, we'd live there for the rest of our lives. The day of the plane crash, he was going to France for an auction. He wanted to buy a sapphire to make a brooch for me. Damn it, I wish I hadn't liked sapphires. Song Sangren smiled, lifting her head. But tears streamed down her face. Forget it. When you take Huo Linchen with you, I'll just pretend he's dead. At this moment, I was truly shaken. But reason told me I couldn't. Song Sangren is Shen Zai's first wife, and they have an 8-year-old son. Compared to me, Song Sangren has given more. And she and her child need Shen Shi more. Moreover, Shen Shi also loves Song Sangren. He just lost that memory. He dreamed of taking me to Iceland, but it was because of Song Sangren. Stolen things, sooner or later, must be returned. It's better to return them sooner than later. I looked at Song Sangren. Do you have any bricks? Song Sangren was puzzled but pointed to the construction building next door. The construction team should have some. Why do you need bricks? I quickly went downstairs, and Song Sangren followed me. To help Shen Huo Linchen regain his memory, they always say on TV, if you hit someone on the head, they forget. And if you hit them again, they'll remember. Crazy, Song Sangren cursed. But there was still a hint of hope in her eyes. We returned to the hospital room. Shen Shi was lying on the bed, looking at me with bright eyes. Baby, you're back? Did you and this bad woman talk? When are we going back? Before he could finish, I slapped a brick to the back of his head. Shen Shi covered his head and fainted. When he woke up and slowly opened his eyes, he hoarsely called out, baby, but this time, he was looking at Song Sangren. Song Sangren covered her mouth in surprise, tears of joy streaming down her face. Ah Chen, you remembered, didn't you? Huo Linchen nodded slowly. Sangren, I'm sorry, these years, I made it so hard for you. Huo Linchen turned to look at me, but I hurriedly avoided his gaze. Song Sangren cried as she threw herself into his arms, seemingly wanting to pour out all the grievances of the past years. Shen Shi really regained his memory. But I didn't feel the slightest bit of joy. I felt like a rat in the gutter, secretly watching others' happiness from the shadows. I watched Huo Linchen gently comfort Song Sangren, and kiss her hair tenderly. At that moment, he was no longer the husband I once had in the small fishing village. He was Song Sangren's husband, Ho Er's father, and the heir to the Ho family. I silently took one last look at him. Shen Shi, I've returned you to Song Sangren. From now on, I owe nothing to either of you. I will return to the small fishing village and continue my life. Perhaps, all those beautiful memories of the past, the things I once had and then lost, were just a big dream I had over the years. Before leaving Beijing, Song Sangren insisted on seeing me one last time. In a beautiful, upscale restaurant. I poked at my plate. Still the pink meat. Song Sangren looked happy. But there was a hint of sorrow in her eyes. Ah Chen really regained his memory. But he also remembers everything from the 6 years after the plane crash. And everything that happened between you two in the small fishing village. He remembers it all, although he didn't say it. I know he feels guilty toward you. I misunderstood you before. You're a good girl, and actually, it's me and Ah Chen who owe you. If you need anything, just ask. Don't feel bad about it. You can have as much money as you want. I was going to say, that 5 million was already enough. But looking at Song Sangren's hopeful eyes, I asked for another 5 million. If money could buy her peace of mind, then it wouldn't hurt. Before parting, Song Sangren smiled softly at me. She was no longer the hysterical woman from before. This time, she smiled gently and gracefully. An elegance radiating from her. Goodbye. Thank you for saving Ah Chen. And thank you for willing to return him to me and You are a kind and warm person. You will be happy. Before the plane took off, I took one last look at the Beijing sky. Shen Shi, goodbye. We will never meet again. Months passed, and I finally returned to the small fishing village. The villagers had heard some rumors about Huo Linchen and me. Seeing me return alone, some laughed at me, while others spoke up in my defense. Where's your merman? Did he swim back to the sea? Ha 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 ha. I told you, those handsome men are unreliable. If you had married me, you wouldn't be in this mess now. You're so stubborn. If I were you, I would have forced Huo Linchen. Oh no, forced that Huo Linchen guy to divorce his wife. 6 years. Girl, you've wasted 6 years on him. And now you're a second-hand woman. What's the deal with that? You can find another man. Don't be too down about it. Looking at the faces, some of them mocking, some of them worried, I smiled faintly. Before I spend the 10 million Huo Linchen gave me, I won't be down. The crowd was amazed by the wealth of the Ho family, and their looks turned to envy. You really have it good. 6 years ago, you got a strong laborer for free. Now that the laborer is older, you've traded him for 10 million, but in the small fishing village, there's nowhere to spend that 10 million. I still live the same life as before. I went fishing, killing fish at home, and making fish stew. Only, without Shen Shi by my side, I always felt a bit empty. I often went to the reef where I found him, sitting there, lost in thought. Someone joked if I was thinking about Shen Shi. I said no, I was just thinking about finding another merman to take home. Actually, I was just pretending to be tough. The truth was, I missed him terribly. When Shen Shi was with me, he would hold me and we'd quietly watch the sunrise and sunset on the boat. Even the dull fishing life became interesting. When he was around, I didn't have to catch those slimy fish. When he was around, the fish on the table always had no bones. He would peel them for me. He also often went out on the boat, buying me snacks we couldn't find in the small fishing village. I knew I shouldn't think about him. But how could I let go of 6 years of our love? I couldn't remember how many times I went to that reef. But this time was different. This time, I ran into Shen Shi near the reef again. I thought it was a dream. So I rubbed my eyes hard. When I realized it was really him, I turned and ran. I'm not here to disturb you. I just want to talk to you. Huo Linchen stopped me. He didn't call me, wife, or, you, just like I didn't call him Shen Shi. For some reason, I nodded. It's almost sunset. Let's go to the sea to watch the sunset. And chat while we're at it. Huo Linchen and I stood on the boat. There was a natural distance between us. Unspoken, but clearly felt. I gave a dry laugh, breaking the silence. Thanks for the money. Now I'm the richest woman in the small fishing village. Matchmakers are always knocking on my door. A lot of young handsome guys want to marry me. Huo Linchen laughed with me. But after a while, his eyes grew dim. Since you have money, why still go out to sea? You're always careless. You don't check the engine before going out. It's fine in shallow waters, but what if something happens in the deep sea? I nodded uncomfortably. This boat was left by my mom. I don't want it to go to waste. I'll be more careful, and besides, I have life jackets on the boat. I'm a good swimmer, so even if something happens, I can swim to shore. Suddenly, Huo Linchen grabbed my shoulder, his voice trembling. Don't you know, every time I think about you going out to sea alone, I almost go crazy with worry. I frowned. Huo Linchen froze, realizing what he had said and how his actions crossed the line. He silently stepped back 2 paces, sighing. Actually, after I regained my memory, I knew you would leave me. Even if I cling to you and take you back to the small fishing village. You wouldn't want me, but I still wanted to come back, to see this place. This boat, they all once made me so happy. I know I shouldn't say these things. I have a wife. I have a son. They've been upset trying to find me for 6 years. I can't let them down. But I clearly remember the vow I made on this fishing boat. I said I'd take you to see the ends of the earth. If I can only make it up to one person. Why can't that person be you? To be honest, I don't resent Huo Linchin. When he met me, he had no memory. And after meeting me, he treated me well. In this matter, whether it was me, Song Sangren, or Huo Linchin, we were all innocent. I don't resent him. But I can't accept being with him again. Huo Linchin, if you can only make it up to one person, then that person can only be Song Sangren. She is your first love. She is your original wife. She gave you a son at the peak of her career. When you were in a plane crash, uncertain whether you would live or die. It was her who held up the Ho family for 6 years. If you wrong her, I will look down on you. If I get back together with you, I will look down on myself. Huo Linchin, you will never be my Shen Shi. And we can never be together again. Huo Linchin silently looked at me. His eyelashes trembled. His eyes holding a deep sadness. But I love you. I clearly love you. Yet I continue my marriage with Song Sangren. And keep her trapped in a life of unhappiness. Does that mean I'm good to her? I interrupted Huo Linchin. Huo Linchin, don't talk to me about this. It's your family's business. I'm just telling you my choice. What I wanted all along was simple love. Just like Shen Shi. If love becomes complicated, I don't want it. Go. Huo Linchin, I really don't want to see you again. When the last light of the sunset faded, Huo Linchin left the small fishing village. I didn't lie to him. I truly couldn't accept being entangled with a man who had a wife and child. Even if he had his reasons. Even if he was innocent. Life continued, peaceful like water. I gradually got used to life without Huo Linchin. If it weren't for the huge amount in my bank account, I'd even think those 6 years were a dream I imagined. Song Sangren occasionally posted on social media. Sometimes it was photos with Huo Linchin. Sometimes it was pictures of Huo Linchin with the child. And sometimes it was a family photo with all 3 of them making hearts. Seeing their happiness. At least I didn't feel guilty anymore. Until one day, Song Sangren suddenly sent me a message. Huo Linchin and I got divorced. Don't misunderstand. Huo Linchin didn't do anything wrong to me. It was me who suggested it. This feeling is like a skirt that fell into the toilet. You might regret losing it, but washing it and wearing it again just feels wrong. Cough cough cough. I didn't mean to compare you to the toilet. I smiled and replied to Song Sangren. I know, Sangren, no matter what choice you make, I wish you happiness. The chat box showed a long time of typing. Song Sangren hesitated for a long time. Then couldn't help but ask. If Huo Linchin comes to the small fishing village to find you, will you get back together with him? Maybe afraid I'd misunderstand. Song Sangren quickly added. Don't worry I've completely let go. If you two get back together, I'll bless you. Actually, Huo Linchin is really good. He's a very responsible man. I smiled, thinking over Song Sangren's question. No, Sangren, you better stop Huo Linchin. Don't let him come to the small fishing village to find me. Aunt Wang has been introducing several handsome young men to me recently. It'd be bad if they misunderstand. I quietly closed the chat box. Song Sangren felt awkward. But didn't I feel awkward too? Those loves I thought were unique were actually all shadowed by another woman. The Iceland he promised to take me to was the place he had once proposed to his lover. The sapphire ring he saved money for and gave me was the gem his lover loved the most. Even the lullaby he sang to me was a tune he composed, with lyrics written by Song Sangren. Huo Linchin thought he forgot, but his subconscious remembered for him. I'm not Huo Linchin. I can't tell who he really loves. But I know clearly. The love I want is pure. The kind that belongs only to me. And Huo Linchin, he can't give that. On New Year's Day, I went to the street alone and bought a few vegetables. Just as I got home, Officer Lee came with several big bags of snacks to visit me. I smiled and teased. What's this? Is this a new policy in the small fishing village? For someone like me, who has no parents, no husband, no children, They even assign a policeman to keep me company for the new year. Officer Lee's face turned red in an instant. And he stammered that it wasn't true. Yue, this isn't a task. I came on my own. I'm not after money. I just like you as a person. You can make a premarital agreement. If I wrong you or divorce you, I won't get a single penny. I rubbed my forehead and smiled wryly. I haven't agreed yet. How did we go from marriage to divorce? Just as I was thinking about how to politely reject Officer Lee, a fist suddenly landed on Officer Lee's face. Lee, I've already seen through your intentions toward my Yue, and sure enough, I was right. On New Year's Eve, instead of being with your parents, you're here harassing an unmarried woman. Just wait, I'm going to report you. It was Huo Linchen. Once Officer Lee saw who it was, he immediately became agitated. I'm unmarried, and Yue is unmarried. What's wrong with me pursuing her? Who are you, a man who fakes marriage, to judge me? As for the Green Tea Act, I've never seen anyone better than you. Pretending to be a pure, amnesiac mermaid. But you already have a child, and on New Year's Eve, instead of being with your wife and child, you have the nerve to harass Yue? Do you want the village to gossip about her? I struggled for a long time before finally separating the two. Sorry, Officer Lee, we really aren't compatible. I wish you the best in your matchmaking this year. And hope you find a good match soon. And you, Huo Linchen, go away. Even though you're divorced, is still your son. Why aren't you spending the new year with your kid? And instead running around the small fishing village for no reason? Go home. I pointed to the door and ruthlessly showed him the way out. Officer Lee, seeing that Huo Linchen had no intention of leaving, refused to go either, saying it was to protect the safety of the public. Huo Linchen sighed helplessly, and in front of Officer Lee, took out a medical report from his bag. Yue, I have nasopharyngeal cancer. Actually, nasopharyngeal cancer has a high cure rate. But I'm afraid I'm the unlucky one. I just wanted to have a New Year's Eve dinner with you, so I wouldn't regret it later. I had often noticed Huo Linchen had a stuffy nose, ear ringing, and headaches. Back then, I urged him to see a doctor, but he insisted it was nothing serious. Once he had enough money for the trip to Iceland, he'd be cured of anything. If he went to the hospital and wasted that money, then that would truly be a problem. My nose ached as I realized. Huo Linchen's illness had been a warning sign all along. I pushed Huo Linchen away with red eyes. Go get treatment if you're sick. Why are you here bothering me? I don't know how to treat illnesses. Go back to the city. There are the best doctors there. Officer Lee took off his hat and looked a little guilty. He awkwardly chuckled and tried to smooth things over. Yue, old Ho is a patient. You should indulge his wishes a bit. How about this? I'll take the lead. Today, the three of us, people with no family, will gather together for New Year's Eve dinner. And tomorrow old Ho has to listen. We'll take him to the city for treatment. Huo Linchen silently looked at me. I had no choice but to agree. We can have dinner, but you must get treated properly. Huo Linchen, Officer Lee, and I sat together for the New Year's Eve dinner. We chatted and laughed. As if everything from the past year hadn't happened. As if nothing had changed. Yue, I told you a long time ago. Officer Lee's look toward you wasn't right. You said I was just being jealous. Now you believe me, right? He's up to no good. Shen Shi, stop talking nonsense. I'm the only unmarried woman of my age in the village. If I don't confess to her, who should I confess to? I just want to settle down as soon as possible. Hearing this, my smile suddenly faded. I'm an unmarried woman now. Everything has really changed. The next day, Officer Lee and I took Huo Linchen to the best hospital in the city. The doctor said Huo Linchen's nasopharyngeal cancer was only in stage 1. And within 5 years, he shouldn't be in any life-threatening danger. This result wasn't good or bad, but it did bring me some relief. Huo Linchen, the doctor says you should avoid environments that irritate your nose. Fortunately now you're the CEO. You won't have to go back to the fishing village and kill fish anymore. Now I'm actually glad Officer Lee helped you regain your identity. Otherwise, if you died in the small fishing village one day, I wouldn't be divorced. I'd be a widow. I smiled as I patted Huo Linchen's shoulder. But he didn't smile back. Officer Lee secretly leaned over to my ear and whispered. He's feeling bad right now. The doctor said he can't be exposed to environments that irritate his nose. So he can't go to the small fishing village to see you anymore. Tisk tisk tisk. He originally wanted to sell a sob story to get you to take care of him. But in the end, he's lost both the wife and the army. Seeing Huo Linchen's silence, I couldn't help but feel a little sorry for him. Fishermen are a high-risk group for nasopharyngeal cancer. In fact, if you think about it, he worked so hard killing fish for me. And that's how he got the cancer. Even though he's no longer my Shen Shi, I couldn't just leave him like this. So I used the money Song Sangren gave me to hire the best caregiver for Huo Linchen. When Huo Linchen was helped back home by the caregiver, his face was full of resentment. Officer Lee laughed so hard his stomach hurt. Old Ho, you don't seriously think Yue will move into your house to take care of you, do you? Dream on, you're old now, your kid's already 8. Can't you stop being so childish? The Green Tea Act doesn't suit you anymore tilde ha 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 ha. Before leaving, Huo Linchen stopped me. Yue, will you come see me? I nodded and said I would. I didn't break my promise. And every couple of months, I flew to the city to visit Huo Linchen. After radiation therapy, the doctor said he was recovering well. And there was no danger to his life for at least the next 10 to 20 years. I frequently flew to the city, which naturally meant I ran into Song Sangren. She had changed, completely transformed. She became bold, bright, and full of energy. She told me she had been like this for years. Song Sangren showed me a ring on her finger. Yue, I'm getting married. It's to a classmate of mine from college. He's had a crush on me for many years. He's been single all this time waiting for me. I really had bad taste back then. Picking that sickly Huo Linchen. I guess I was just unlucky. I advise you to be cautious too. There are many fish in the sea. I smiled and wished Song Sangren well. I flew to the city often, which made her think I might reconcile with Huo Linchen. But that wouldn't happen. After confirming that his condition was stable, I planned to stay in the small fishing village for good. This was my last time flying to the city to visit Huo Linchen. 2 months later, after waiting for me for so long, Huo Linchen tracked me down to the small fishing village, waiting by the reef for a whole night. It was Officer Lee who received the report from the kid, saying that a fool was by the reef. He shone his flashlight and went to take a look, only to find it was Huo Linchen. I was forced to go to the reef that night. Huo Linchen, the tide is rising. Huo Linchen smiled at me. Yue, are you here to take me home? I nodded. I'll take you back to the Ho family. He looked at me deeply, and with a long gaze said, Yue, call me Shen Shi. I shook my head and smiled. My Shen Shi is a mermaid, and he has already returned to the sea. Huo Linchen, you must go back home too.